several years, I have been blessed by opportunities to preach and teach about creation care all across America. I have spoken at graduate schools and with elementary age students. I've talked with secular and religious audiences. I've spoken in churches with tens of thousands and one where only one person showed up. I have heard every kind of objection and rationalization for not protecting our earthly ark of life. Most of the arguments boil down to selfishness. I have met those who would bet the futures of their grandchildren on wishful thinking that the earth will end tomorrow. However, I've met none willing to bet their 401,000s on such end-times thinking. Years of practice in emergency medicine taught me the truth of Christ's words. Death can come swiftly and when we least expect it. We should all be living as if we knew with 100% certainty that this was our last year on earth. The followers of Christ are to concern themselves with others. Further, we are to look out for those who cannot care for themselves. By definition, our responsibility includes the next generation. None of Christ's teachings offers better instruction on how to care for all of God's creation than the parable of the Good Samaritan. In the Gospel of Luke, Christ is asked point blank, quote, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" End quote. The answer sums up all of Scriptures and may be the most instructive passage regarding the world's environmental problems. Quote, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." End quote. The questioner then asks, "Who is my neighbor?" End quote. Christ tells of a Jewish man who, going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, falls into the hands of robbers who strip him, beat him, and leave him half dead. Jesus then tells of a priest from the mugged man's own religious group who walks by but offers no assistance. A second religious man comes along, a Levite. He sees the hurt man but crosses the other side of the road, also offering no help. Finally, a Samaritan comes along, traveling on a donkey. He is from a wealthier socioeconomic class, riding rather than walking. He is also a Samaritan from a group of people despised by the Jews, and vice versa. But the Samaritan is moved by compassion. He gets off his donkey and begins making bandages using his own oil and wine to help the man. He then puts the mugged man on his donkey and pays for care at an inn, the equivalent of a hospital in that day. Finally, he agrees to pick up the bill for any additional care. As an ER physician, I saw a total of some 30,000 patients in my career. Only once did someone come in and pay the hospital bill for a stranger. Christ closes the parable by asking who showed mercy to the mugged man. The scribe must answer, "The Samaritan." But the answer is more. It is an instruction in how to have eternal life. The parable demonstrates a continuum of compassion. The priest represents those of us who refuse to take any responsibility for environmental problems. We close our eyes and walk on by. The second passerby, the Levite, is like most of us. He sees the problem then says, "I should get back to Jerusalem and raise awareness. Maybe I'll blog on the problem of highway mugging or send a letter off to the Roman centurion about beefing up patrol and installing better streetlights." Like the Levite, we see the hardship caused by environmental problems, particularly for the poorest among us. Our hearts are moved to compassion, but we do little, if anything, to help. Only the Samaritan, the one who is least likely to view the mugged man as his neighbor, takes action. What does this parable teach us about how we should approach environmental problems today? To have any lasting effect, our hearts must be moved by compassion. We may find it dangerous. We may have to use our own resources. It may be inconvenient. It may be expensive. We may be ridiculed. We will have to take ongoing responsibility, and everyone is our neighbor, including people across the globe and future generations. All of these lessons apply directly to our environmental problems today. However, I believe that the most important lesson of the Good Samaritan, the one that can separate us from the priest and Levite, is that we must get off our donkeys before we can become part of the solution. The future will not be saved by our good intentions. It will be made better or worse only by our actions. We show our love for the Lord by loving our neighbors. Every time our family buys anything or takes any action, we now ask 2 questions. Will this help me love God? Will this help me love my neighbor? The answer always leads us to the right action. If we take shorter showers, carpool, or plant a tree, no one will necessarily notice or thank us. But if these things are done as an act to serve the Lord and to protect our neighbors, then we will have grown as loving spiritual beings. My journey from that island in Florida has taught me a life-changing lesson. Each and every one of us must be the change that Christ wishes to see in the world. It is my prayer that the readers of the Green Bible will begin in earnest the work of protecting and serving God's beautiful creation. Bravo! That was so beautiful. I'm gonna cut this because it's going on to 30 minutes and